come on, hand! Today is the wonderful world of cars. Yeah, cars are something that have only been around like a few hundred years. Before that, your ancestors, your great, that's 6 greats, and older ones too. Those people, in order to get around, they would have to walk from place to place. So they would walk or run, not like in yoga pants or something, but like coats and stuff, burlap sacks. If they wanted to go long distances, it was very hard. They would have to travel by boat or by carriages pulled by animals. They would also ride the animals, like, oh, come here, I want to sit on you. Like horses, donkeys, camels, llamas, or reindeer, given their respective locations around the world. Smaller animals are not suited for travel. Can you imagine someone saying like, hey Ned, here's a saddle, let's go? I'd be like, oh, I can't take you, I might get like tennis elbow or shin splints. Travel was also hard just because being outside and traveling through the different kinds of weather. I mean, rain was an issue. You think you have it bad when you forget your umbrella and you're like, oh, I am a little wet. Your ancestors would have long delays because the clouds, they made some splashy puddles and mud pies. This meant travel was mostly done either in fair weather or when absolutely needed, like, I gotta get the penicillin for my eye infection or something like that. So most people lived around the small towns since travel was difficult. They often lived in the same place their whole lives. And some of them would never leave town. That is Hobo Joe over there. He is a regular. Imagine never seeing anything but the horizon you live by. It's like that Luke guy staring off in the sunset, acting all like melancholy. As there got to be more and more people, plus, they're dogs, they're starting to become like a big need. Like as big as when I need dinner. A need for other ways than just like boats and carriages to get people and things from place to place. Enter the Industrial Revolution, where motors became prevalent and we started putting them on all kinds of things. So because they had all these motors, they started strapping them to carriages and to bicycles. And the bicycles, they became motorcycles. And the carriages, they became cars. At the time, it was hard for some people to understand that you wanted to make a carriage move all ghostly like on its own without a horse. Some thought it was like magic. And they called it a horseless carriage. Well, because there was no horse on the carriage anymore. It was just a motor. And they took these motors and they put them on things and they just kind of crossed their fingers like, oh, well, hope this works. And cars were like bumping around, like flying and around all the place because people didn't know how to drive. Early travel's often been like, hey, horse, I'm a car, get out of the way. And the horse would be like, I gotta keep this wagon a-moving. And the next thing you know, you'd have like, get out of the way. Get out of the way. And then, oh, my tennis elbow, my shin splints. Because it was chaos. This changed over time as towns grew into big cities with tall skyscrapers and landscaping, dog parks, plenty of trees to mark, curbs, waterway systems for flooding, all those things. Since there were a lot more people living close together in smaller places, you couldn't keep a horse in a 4th floor apartment. There wasn't space. Then you'd really be like, hey horse, get out of the way. Give me my teacup. So roads were made better and it made it easier for people to travel. This made people really want to own a car. They said to themselves, oh, I want to have one now. But they were pricey and kind of hard to come by. So this guy named Henry Ford, he came along and he leveled the car up to like 20. He standardized parts on cars, meaning that you didn't have this side bolt here and over there a different size and over there. And he just made them the same. He made lots of cars, and like any good inventor, each was an improvement on the previous one. This included cars like the quadricycle, the Model A, the Packard Model F and L, the Model B, the Model S, and the most notable, the Model T. I don't know what kind of alphabet he was working with, but one of the most famous quotes from Henry Ford about the Model T, the customer can have any color they want as long as it is black. This is because the moving assembly line, which helped crank out cars from parts to driving in a matter of a few hours instead of like 20 plus hours, like 2 whole days of work, they needed paint that dried fast. They couldn't wait. And other paint didn't dry so fast. So an assembly line is like when you are making a pizza. There is an order how to make it. You don't put on the sauce last or the sauce before the crust. No, that's wrong. You want it in the proper order of crust, sauce, cheese, toppings, and my belly. They figured out they could start with the frame and then it moves on down. Over here is like, okay, Joe, I got this over here. I'll take on putting on the wheels. And then it moves over here. And Jim's like, oh, I'll put the engine in. And then it comes over here and Sue's like, I'm going to go ahead and put on the windows and the wipers and the electrical circuits and whatnot. This really helped them drive down the cost of cars, and that made it so that people had them. They started to be everywhere. So with all these kind of roads interconnecting places, such as highways and interstates, highways or high interstates go between the states and such, and provinces and Canada. This gives us the ability now to travel no matter what the weather is. Unless it's like freezing rain, tornadoes, or other super crazy weather. Now if it's raining, we're like, oh, flip on the windshield wipers. While we sit all lazy and toasty warm inside complaining about like, oh no, they touched me. They're not on their side of the seat. Oh, they looked at me. And then your parents are like, stop this or I'm pulling this car over. We're not going to Disneyland. Travel has become so easy, you rarely question if you'll go across town to get like bacon or something. You can just go get it. Some of the biggest improvements in cars today are all about safety. Lights in and on the car, such as headlights, allow other drivers to see around them, as well as other cars. Seatbelts help people from flying around when they get into a crash. Airbags help us be safer when in a crash, too. And when your face is going like, oh, and stops you from running into the dash. Much newer cars have vision systems, not like googly eyes, but LiDAR. That's light detecting and ranging. Basically a laser pointer out in the car that checks to see how far away things are. Like if you're this close or if you're way far away, way down over here. These vision systems help the car give us suggestions, such as collision detection warnings. If it thinks another car is too close, like, hey, back it up, man. This, along with automatic braking, means that even when you're not paying close attention, your car is and can protect you. Be sure to thank it. Oh, you are the best car. You deserve a car wash. And we're not getting the cheap one. We're getting the one with the full undercarriage wash, too. Lane assist, which helps keep you in the lane instead of having you swerve all across the lanes and cause all kinds of havoc. Like there are bees in your car and you're like, oh, the bees, get the bees. Another item that helps with vehicle safety is a driver's license. Don't leave home without one. This is a test of competence. It proves at some point we understood that cars are powerful machines and that we understand the meaning of a speed limit. Basic respect of others on the road too. Stop signs and stoplights. Merging with traffic instead of cutting them off. The right of way. How to fit your car into a parking stall. You know, simple stuff. The last bit of safety comes down to physics. How much do you weigh? 40 pounds? 250 pounds? Oh, Ned, that is a personal question. Small cars weigh in around 2,500 pounds. Trucks with trailers and such are more than 13,000 pounds. So whether you are a 40-pound turkey or a 250-pound deer, this is at least like 100 times the size of you. Imagine a stack of 100 deers with all their pointing antlers and everything. I'm not sure how to stack that many. They're coming at you at like 3 times as fast as you can run. That's about 25 miles per hour. And you have to step into the road to get your teacup because the horse threw it out in the street. And how he got your teacup in the first place, I'll never understand. And they come skidding toward you like... That's what they sound like with their hoof brakes. Now who wins? You are the deer pile. My money's on the deer pile, dude. I can't bet on you. I'm sorry. This means that care needs to be taken around roads. Treat them with the respect they deserve, like your parents. Cross at the signals and the walks, not like the ducks. The last topic of the day is about the power of a car. We rate the ability of a motor in cars based on what is known as a horsepower. While it is not exactly the same idea, the value came from, like, what a horse can do. Horses are beasts. They got, like, huge muscles everywhere. They work out. When all these machines started to be made, people wondered how the machine matched up to the most common engine of before times. The horse. I guess they wanted to know who would win in a fight. So a guy named James Watt, he's the guy that the unit of watts is named for. Go figure. He came up with the relation of force times the distance divided by time formula. So that equals horsepower. So force is that pushy thing. You know, like a brother or sister. The distance is like how far you have to move. So a force and a distance is an amount of work that needs to happen. And when we take it over time, that tells us how much power it has to push something from a distance through time. Through a study, he found that during a horse's average day's work, that a horse could move a mill wheel a certain number of times around with a constant force. And I know you're probably like, oh yeah, Ned, a mill wheel. I've got 2 of those at home. Is a big stone that they'd smash grains on. And other hand, like, whoa, they'd smash it, and they'd smash it into flour. From this average, he could calculate a value of roughly 33,000 foot-pounds a minute. This allowed Mr. Watt to compare steam motors of the time to a horse. Oh yes, this is a very good-looking steam motor. That horse over there, it could use like a shave and a haircut, maybe a top hat. They were able to then say that the motors had like 12 horsepower. From that, the idea just stuck. So now we can look at how a lot of different things compare. On a human's average day work, they can produce about 0.1 horsepower continuously. Early cars could produce about 20 horsepower or less. Current cars in America are around 200 horsepower value. Wow, your car must work out. But even still, performance cars or even commercial trucks are around 400 plus horsepower. Think of the biceps on those babies. Cars have completely changed how we live life now. Not only do they allow us to move around how we need, we also just sometimes go on drives. I like it when my head goes out the window and my ears are flapping in the wind and the air goes in my ears and it is tickling my brain. So trucks carry foods and goods all around. This allows us to live in cities and the food comes to us. It's great when you get a package from the online delivery service and you're like, oh, I don't even remember what's in this one. Every year, they find better ways to make cars so we don't have to repair them as often. They use better alloys. That's like taking 2 different kinds of metals or more and mixing them together. So then you get something better, like when you mix things with ice cream. And they add newer safety features, better fuel economy. That means it can go the same or further distance with less gas. Or for electric cars, that it has better battery capacity to do that. So, as a reminder, ye olden times we rode them horses. Now we use cars. There are challenges of owning a car and challenging owners. We should always be cautious and remain safe around them and the roadways and make sure that we treat them with the respect like your parents deserve. But one thing is for sure, cars will continue to be in whatever form they choose to be in the future, as it is an important structure of our society from getting us and goods and services from place to place. So, keep your mind open and your ears too. Go and learn things. It's good for you. Bye. Oh, my tennis elbow. If it's run a whole lot, it will break down. You'll get like sad and stuff. Gotta run. I'm all over the place. This and it's and it's like feel that one in the morning. Harmoniously travel down the way you'd be like, where am I gonna fit my teacup? Okay, those vocal exercises are great now.